I would like to welcome you all to the annual Lieutenant Governor's Award for the advancement of interreligious understanding. My name is Payam Taufik, the president of Manitoba Multi-Faith Council. Before we start the program, I would like to mention a few housekeeping items. First, I would like to inform you that this meeting is being recorded. I also would like to ask to please keep your device muted to make sure we don't get any unwanted feedbacks. And also, if you would like to see only the speakers in the program, please click on the speaker view on the top left-hand corner of your screen. Manitoba Multi-Faith Council, or MMC, is a charitable organization with the purpose of promoting multi-faith dialogue and understanding, and to educate the public about world religions present in our province, and to promote collaboration among the people of faith. All board members of MMC are people of diverse faiths working together to build a just and caring society. We hope our work would contribute to a society rich with diversity while committing to the common good in our communities. This year, we all have been challenged in many years in our personal, community, and professional lives. Preparing for this award was not an exception. Although we are saddened by not being able to meet everyone in person as previous years in the elegant government house for this ceremony, but we are very excited to be able to host so many of you virtually and continue with this great tradition in this very important award that has taken place in the past few years. At this point, I would like to introduce to you Manitoba Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Janice C. Fellman.
Likes to open a window to let in some fresh air and light? Who likes to throw open the door and let in friends and neighbors? I do. I'm sure we're all looking forward to doing both of those things later this year. But today we're going to do the next best thing. The Lieutenant Governor's Award for Advancement of Interreligious Understanding recognizes the work of Manitobans who dedicate their time, energy, and creativity to opening metaphorical doors and windows. This award recognizes the work of men and women who bring Manitobans together to share their light. Recipients of this award are Manitobans who have worked for greater understanding across faith communities. They have shown that the differences in our beliefs are not walls dividing us from our neighbors. They have shown instead that our common search for meaning and purpose gives us a way to gather together in mind and spirit. Today, we recognize John Longhurst for nearly 20 years of creating understanding and fostering dialogue through his work at the Winnipeg Free Press. There is no house of worship in Canada, and probably not in the world, large enough to accommodate all the people who have gained wisdom and insight through John's writing. As he has reported on the most fundamental questions of justice and purpose, John has helped us all to read the good news of our common humanity and our shared quest for a better world for people of all faiths. Thank you, John, for your dedication to interreligious understanding, and thank you to the Winnipeg Free Press for maintaining its commitment to coverage of faith. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you, friends, and thank you for bearing with us with these technical challenges that we have. I hope you can hear me all right now. Wonderful.
Yes, I can hear you.
I now would like to ask my colleague, and friend and a key figure who played a crucial role in starting this award back in 2011, to say a few words for us regarding this award. The Reverend Professor Dr. James Christie is an ordained minister of the United Church of Canada, an ambassador at large of the Canadian Multi-Faith Federation. We asked Jim to share a few words and his thoughts about the history and vision behind this award. Please allow me to welcome Dr. James Christie.
Thank you, Payam, President Tofik. Your Honor, distinguished guests, friends all who have gathered this evening, it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces after this most extraordinarily strange year. Bob and John, good evening. You know, it seems hardly possible that it was 10 years ago we gathered at Government House for the first of the award ceremonies for the Lieutenant Governor's Award for the Advancement of Interreligious Understanding. There are so many to whom thanks ought to be given, certainly to MMC for their willingness to pick up the ownership, the sponsorship, the exercise of this award from that ragtag band who gathered together to try and bring an idea and a vision to life so many years ago now. And thanks, of course, and perhaps especially to His Honor, John Harvard, His Honor, Philip Lee, and of course to Her Honor, Janice Philman, for having the courage and the vision to be willing to take a risk, take a chance and do something that no other jurisdiction in the world has even attempted, yet alone accomplished. And that is to bring civil society and the religious world encompassed within that civil society together in order to advance understanding and to promote the kind of harmony and interreligious peace that the United Nations celebrated a brief 2 weeks ago. There is quite a story behind all of this. And as I mentioned, so many people involved that they can hardly be all mentioned without managing to forget someone or other. So taking a cue from Lloyd Axworthy, one of my great mentors, the diplomatic phrase that is to be applied is all courtesies are observed, which means theoretically that no one need at least feel left out as we go through the history of this award, which is rather more complex and rather more lengthy than perhaps many realize. This evening is the 10th anniversary of the presentation of this award. The first, of course, in January of 2011, was presented to Zane Zalis, the composer, the teacher, the librettist, principally for his work on his extraordinary oratorio, I Believe, which honored Shoah survivors and Shoah victims, and which had such an extraordinary impact worldwide just a decade ago. But the story goes back longer than that, and if you'll forgive me, I'm going to approach this chronologically this evening, because the way in which this award developed is very much along the lines of what our own legendary and iconic Winnipegger Bill Blakey calls the cascading convergences. It actually begins in the middle to late 1940s in Ankara, in Turkey. The papal nuncio or ambassador to Turkey through Ankara at that time was an extraordinary Italian prelate, a simple peasant on the surface, the cherubic Angelo Roncalli. By 1943, it was clear that the eventual end of the war was going to mean the total collapse of the Nazi experiment in Germany. And there were those amongst the Nazi leadership who were trying already to do their best to ameliorate circumstances and to amass enough resources for themselves to be able to escape following the end of hostilities. Taking advantage of that, members of the Haganah from Palestine came to Roncalli in Ankara and described to him what was occurring already and had been occurring for some time across Europe. The Holocaust, as it was described by Elie Wiesel, but the Shoah, as it is known today, the catastrophe. The story goes that Roncalli listened with tears rolling down his cheeks, and the only question he asked was, "How can I help?" And there were some suggestions made, and Roncalli did help. He helped by, effectively speaking, purchasing Jews from under the Nazi authorities in Romania and Bulgaria particularly, and with the assistance of the Turkish government, slipping them through the dangerous mountain passes across Turkey and down into the British Mandate of Palestine. Skip ahead to 1957. Angelo Roncalli, the Italian peasant from northern Italy, was made the caretaker pope. He was supposed to sit in the throne of Peter for, a couple of years, and then do the courteous and sensible thing and die. He didn't. Instead, he convened in 1959 the Second Vatican Council, and the windows and the doors, to borrow from her honor, were flung open and a wind swept through and beyond the Vatican to encompass the entire world, and the religious complexion of humanity was changed as John 23rd changed the Church of Rome. At the same time, in the province of Quebec, from where I am speaking this evening, something extraordinary also occurred. La Révolution tranquille began with the 1960 election of Jean Lesage, ending the years-long dominance of the Union Nationale Maurice Duplessis and a cabal rather than a coalition of Duplessis and church leaders, Roman Catholic leaders within the province of Quebec. The Second Vatican Council, with its liberating effect on Rome, coupled with the Révolution tranquille, the quiet revolution, changed the nature of this country as well. From out of Quebec came the three magi, Pierre-Elliott Trudeau, Jean Marchand, and Gérard Pelletier. And just as the windows and doors of the Vatican were being flung open, so the windows and doors of Canada were being flung open too. Our immigration patterns changed, our outlook on individual liberties changed, our understanding of the nature of a collaborative, multicultural society was born in those years when Pierre Trudeau was Prime Minister. And in consequence, an extraordinary number of new enterprises flourished, including the Centre Canadien d'Œcuménisme, founded in Montreal by Père Irénée Beaubien of the Société de Jésus. Beaubien's vision was Christian ecumenism based on the principles of Vatican Council, yes, but far more than that. It was a vision of the entire human family learning to come to know one another, understand one another, and respect one another. The cascade continues. In 2006, 5 years after the tragic events of 9/11 in Manhattan, Anthony Mansour, who was at that time director of the Canadian Centre for Ecumenism, the Centre Canadien d'Œcuménisme, happened to be at the same gathering in Montreal, marking the 5th anniversary of 9/11 and reflecting on its implications. We had lunch in Chinatown. And during the course of that lunch, Anthony mooted an idea. It appears that at about the time we met, a professor in Italy from the University of Bologna, Alberto Meloni, had just published something called the Holocaust Journals of Pope John 23rd. And Meloni, it seems, was anxious to have a speaking tour. And it seemed that the Turkish government was anxious to support him. They remembered the arrangement they had made supporting Angelo Roncalli back in the middle 1940s during the war. They were also, let's face it, there is realpolitik involved, really keen on polishing their image so that they might be admitted as a nation partner in NATO. Anthony said, we're planning a speaking tour and Alberto's going to come to talk about these Holocaust journals of John 23rd, which he has just collated, edited, published. And we've got bookings for Montreal, for Ottawa, and for Toronto. But, well, seeing as how you're in Winnipeg, what do you say we do something in Winnipeg as well? In the end, Winnipeg was a starting point for this extraordinary book tour of Professor Maloney's. And in October 2000, let me go back, in December of 2006, we were gathered at John Harvard's table at Government House, a number of us who were in positions of religious and academic leadership. I suggested to His Honor at the time that wouldn't it be neat to be able to have a gathering where Anthony's idea of a multi-faith award to each of a Jew, a Christian, and a Muslim might be awarded at Government House and by the Lieutenant Governor. And well, the group gathered agreed. And in October 2007, Alberto Maloney spoke at the University of Winnipeg on his published work, and we had the very first reception of what later would become the Lieutenant Governor's Award for Interreligious Understanding. The evening in 2007 went extraordinarily well. There was a good turnout, great enthusiasm. People talked about it for some time afterwards. And a few of us thought, maybe we're onto something here. And so we worked. For 3 years we worked. We consulted with each other. We set up what we understood might be workable standards. We even engaged with the protocol officer for the province of Manitoba, Dwight McCauley, whose name this award actually belongs to. Only a protocol officer could come up with a name of an award as long as the Lieutenant Governor's Award for the Advancement of Interreligious Understanding. Well, it worked. From January of 2011 to tonight, we have honored an extraordinary group of people, Christians and Jews and Muslims, Hindus and Jain, and well, the list actually goes on. Indigenous elders, Baha'i. I understand that there'll be some recounting of that list of honorees a little later in the evening. But suffice it to say, it's been an extraordinary 10-year story and adventure. And that it seems particularly suitable that this evening, when we remember the story of how this night came to be, that we're honoring a storyteller in John Longhurst. Her Honor has already told you something of John. You'll hear more in just a few minutes. But I think it may be worth noting that in this pandemic year, in which, although much has been sadly curtailed, there has been much heartache, much loss, much death, many tears. By the same token, the technology that we are enjoying this evening that brings us together, not only in Manitoba, but from coast to coast to coast, also has provided us with the opportunity for raising the profile of the Lieutenant Governor's Award across the G20 nations worldwide and the European Union. Who knows? With that kind of visibility, perhaps we won't remain forever the only jurisdiction on the planet that recognizes the significance of this. Perhaps the consequences will continue to cascade. Thank you, Payam.
Thank you, Jim, for this most excellent presentation that you had. And as you mentioned, although all of you witnessed the challenges that we have with technology a few minutes ago, however, I think the opportunities that it always also present to us is truly unbelievable. For example, if we did not have this platform, we could not hear Jim's amazing history of this award from Quebec. So as I think all of our faiths have been over the centuries, been given a lot of challenges, but opportunities comes with that. And this one little event that we have is a great example of that. I would like to move on now to the next part of our program. I would like to ask Christine Baronens from the MMC Community Relation Committee to speak about the nomination process for this award and also recent winners that we have. Christine, please.
Thank you, Payam. Good evening, Her Honor, and to all invited guests participating in this special virtual event. Dr. Christie's provided us with insightful historical context for this unique awards event. And as Community Relations Chair for Manitoba Multi-Faith Council, I wish to take this opportunity to thank him for his instrumentality in bringing this significant honor and recognition to the office of the Lieutenant Governor, and for continuously striving to promote greater interfaith dialogue and understanding within the province of Manitoba and the nation. I also wish to take a moment to express my appreciation to members of the Community Relations Committee, with particular thanks to Belle Jarnewski, past former Manitoba Multi-Faith Council President and Community Relations member, for her instrumental role in organizing and planning this event. I wish to just take a few minutes now to outline the nomination process. The Lieutenant Governor's Award for the Advancement of Interreligious Understanding begins with nominations from any persons within the province of Manitoba. The person nominated is active in their faith community and through involvement in education, media, cultural engagement, service, or the arts has made a significant contribution to interreligious understanding and harmony within the province. Nomination forms can be obtained through the Manitoba Multi-Faith Council, who serves as the institutional home of this award. Since its founding, this award has recognized people of diverse backgrounds, including the musician Zane Zales, former federal finance minister and university president Dr. Lloyd Axworthy, columnist Karen Toole, former chief of police Devon Clunas, interfaith project collaborators Manju Loda and Ray Dirks, manager of the Yazidi refugee program Operation Ezra, Michelle Aziza, as well as our most recent 2019 recipient, Buddhist leader and dedicated interfaith relationship builder, Sensi Fred Ulrich. Some of these recipients have been designated religious leaders and others lay people. Each in their own way have made significant contributions to interreligious understanding and harmony within the province of Manitoba. We express our gratitude and appreciation to a succession of Lieutenant Governors, John Harvard, Philip Lee, and now Her Honor Janice Filman, for endorsing this award. We also are very grateful for the hard work of individuals who've paved the way for this award and for now finally placing it within the institutional home of the Manitoba Multi-Faith Council. It's now my pleasure to welcome Mr. Bob Cox, editor of the Winnipeg Free Press, and invite him to introduce the 2020 Lieutenant Governor's recipient for the advancement of interreligious understanding, Mr. Cox.
Bob, you're muted.
I'm sure that'll be a lot better. My apologies. Thank you very much, Christine. I have the easiest job here tonight, which is to introduce John Longhurst. And the reason it's the easiest job is because you all know John, and many of you know him very well, and you've known him for a long time. I hope I can tell you a few things about him that you don't know. John is, he's actually not a Manitoban. That's perhaps John's big secret, that he doesn't like to be let out. But John is actually a Manitoban by choice, not by birth. And I asked him for a little bit of background about himself, and he sent me this note, and he says, I have lived in Winnipeg since 1976, when I loved here from Southern Ontario to attend university. Now, it's possible that that was a typo. It's also possible it was a Freudian slip. I'm not quite sure which it was. It may just well reflect how John feels about the place. And I suspect that's really what it does, because John is certainly committed to this community and to what I think is his calling, which is as a communicator. He has devoted himself to this with an amazing persistence. I think that if I had only one word to describe John, it would be the word persistent. John, as they say, he does not grow weary of doing good. I met John again for the first time, actually, when I moved back here in 2005. And I think it probably took about 5 minutes to introduce himself to me and to tell me that we should be doing more in the Winnipeg Free Press to cover religion. And he's only repeated that message, I don't know, 50 to 60 times a month since then. John is passionate about communicating. He's passionate about writing. He's well known in the Winnipeg community for what he writes, but he's also well known for the organizational work he's done to promote communications, to promote communicating about faith. He's been he's organized conferences for religious communicators. He organized the Winnipeg Church Communicators group. He's directed communications for faith organizations. He's currently president of the Canadian Church Press. He never really stops. So it wasn't much of a surprise when he came to me a couple of years ago, and again repeated that the Winnipeg Free Press should be doing more to cover faith issues. And being the good publisher I am, I said, but we can't afford it. And that didn't stop John for a moment, because then he came up with a way of trying to do the impossible and to do something that had never been done before. And we certainly are happy that he has done this. I won't go into too many details of the project right now, because we have a video that explains it all. And if we, I'm sure that we've had all the technical difficulties we're going to have so far tonight, so we won't have any more technical difficulties, and we'll be able to go right to the video and hear our editor, Paul Simin, explain what the project is all about. But I accompanied John as we went around from faith group to faith group to explain the project. And I sometimes wondered what I was doing there, because John had such a great handle on what he wanted to do and was so passionate about the project that he didn't need my help. This is all due to John, that we have things like you saw today in the Winnipeg Free Press, which was John had 2 stories about faith-related issues in the Tuesday newspaper, which was something that didn't happen just a couple of years ago. We used to tend to leave faith issues on the faith page each Saturday. Some might say relegate faith issues to the faith page. I wouldn't say that, but now we've made sure that they're part of daily reading for anybody who reads the newspaper, or for that matter, available free online to anyone who wants to read them. So at this point, I think it'd be best if we just played the video, and Paul Simin, who talks far better than I do, can give you an overview of the project. Greg, there we go.
A couple years ago, John Longhurst approached the Winnipeg Free Press with a slightly crazy idea, and certainly one that was ambitious. He wanted to build on the faith coverage that we were already providing. Now, the Free Press is pretty proud of the fact that we were one of the few newspapers left in Canada that had a faith section every week. It was a page in Saturday's paper, and John was a longtime contributor. But John thought there was a way to do more, to make sure that faith coverage was something that our readers would see every day of the week and in all sorts of sections of the paper, not just simply on one weekend edition. And so he said, we could make this happen. And there's a model. We went, well, John, newspapers everywhere are facing a number of challenges, and we just don't know if we can afford to move in this direction. And John said, I think we can do it. Anyways, he worked with our publisher, Bob Cox. He spread the word throughout Winnipeg on the broad faith community. And he said, look, there's an opportunity to do something in the Free Press, but you're going to have to be part of the solution. And lo and behold, essentially the collection plate was passed from church to synagogue to mosque to all over the city. And we had enough money that was finally put forward from members of the faith community who said, yeah, what the Free Press does is important, and we want to support that. Now, we're not going to tell you what to write. We're not going to be part of the editing process. We just want to make sure that there is money set aside so the Free Press can do more faith coverage. And with that, we launched that bold and ambitious and slightly crazy project that saw John Longhurst take a lead role in ensuring that coverage of faith was something that would be in our paper and on our online platforms, and that would cover issues of sports and in the arts world and front page stories. And so that faith was no longer just pigeonholed somewhere over there. A force that is central in so many people's lives was going to be talked about. It was going to be written in a way with authority and expertise, so there was context and nuance and perspective. And what it did was it served a part of our community that hadn't been perhaps getting everything that it wanted, everything it needed. And at the same time, it strengthened our overall journalism, because we were able to jump in and get at stories that frankly needed to be told. And by telling those stories, we've probably grown our readership. And so I think John deserves a huge amount of credit for his vision, for his perseverance, and for the strength that he brings to our pixels online and in print for the paper that rolls off our presses. So thank you, John, for your vision, and this award is very deserving.
John Longhurst, recipient of the Lieutenant Governor's Award for the Advancement of Interreligious Understanding. In recognition of his significant service to the citizens of Manitoba as an advocate and chronicler of our faith communities, through his work with the Winnipeg Free Press, he has increased understanding among religions and increased community knowledge of all faiths. John, you will be receiving this. This was signed by myself, February 16th, 2021. In celebration of this award, there is a tree that is going to be planted. The idea being that we have all drunk from a well that we didn't dig. I believe we have warmed ourselves by a fire that we didn't build, but I know we have all sat under the shade of a tree that we didn't plant. So your legacy will live on, and for myself and all Manitobans, John, congratulations.
Well, I want to express a great deal of thanks to Her Honor, to you, Bob, and Paul as well, and to everyone else who came here tonight. Thank you so much. I'm honored. A few years ago, I interviewed Alan Green, former rabbi at Congregation Shaare Zedek, about what made Winnipeg special for him. Like me, Alan wasn't born in Winnipeg. He came from the US. For him, what made Winnipeg special was the great way faith groups worked together. For him, that made Winnipeg a model, not just to Canada, but to the whole world. It was, he said, quote, a message to all of us, direct from God, to learn to love one another in spite of our differences. Well, I agree with Alan, and I think many of us here tonight who are gathered here agree with him too. And this award, now in its 10th year, is a great example of what Alan was talking about. Another great example of what makes Winnipeg a model for interfaith cooperation is the way the faith community has come together to help the Free Press report about religion. And that's what I want to celebrate tonight. When I started out as a freelance columnist at the paper in 2003, I was one of a small number of people writing about religion for daily papers across the country. Today, the Free Press is the only Canadian newspaper that still has a faith page featuring local content, a commitment that has been maintained by editors over the decades. One of those editors was Margot Goodhand. When I interviewed her in 2015 about the paper's commitment to reporting about religion, she put it this way, quote, so much of our news coverage today is driven by police officials and politicians, or from within public institutions like the courts, school boards, and City Hall. What I really like about the faith page is the way it allows us to stand back and view things from an entirely different perspective. She went on to say, quote, it's rare to have a regular news reporter ask questions of morality, spirituality, or ethics. But I believe these questions belong in a community forum like the local newspaper as much as they belong in the world today. Fast forward to 2018, when the Free Press announced it wanted to find new ways to engage the community, to strengthen the bond between it and its readers. After reading that announcement, I asked to meet with editor Paul Samin and publisher Bob Cox, and you've heard a bit of that story tonight. I told them, if you want to engage the community better, then you need to engage the faith community better too. They are an integral part of what makes Winnipeg a great place to live. Bob and Paul agreed, and they said they'd love to do that, but as you've heard already, they said they had no money. So I said, well, what if I go out and raise it? And they said if I could do that, they were in. And so the project to increase faith coverage in the Free Press began. The project launched in March 2019. Since that time, over 450 local faith articles have appeared in the print and online versions of the newspaper, an average of about 19 a month. And those articles don't only appear on Saturday's Faith page. They can be found throughout the newspaper every day, sometimes even on the front page. And the project has also made the Free Press a pioneer in finding new ways to support journalism in Canada. And it's the only media outlet in Canada, and possibly even in North America, where faith groups have come together to financially support religion coverage. So tonight, I want to acknowledge Bob and Paul for taking me up on my crazy idea. Without that, none of this would have happened. I also want to acknowledge the faith groups that have invested in the project. And I especially want to thank Charleswood United Church. That congregation was the first to invite Bob and me to come and make a pitch for support back in 2018. They gave us a chance to test drive it and prove the concept. They were also the first to sign on with an offer of financial support, paving the way for other groups to come on board. So thank you to Michael Wilson, minister, and Ed Buller and the leadership of Charleswood United Church. Without your willingness to step out and to do something new and different and bold, this wouldn't have been possible. Along with Charleswood, other groups have also offered support. They are the Anglican Diocese of Rupertsland, the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of St. Boniface, the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Winnipeg, Calvary Temple, Canadian Mennonite University, Church of the Rock, the Islamic Social Services Association, the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg, the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba, the Manitoba Buddhist Association, the Manitoba Multi-Faith Council, McClure United Church, River East Church, St. Peter's Evangelical Lutheran Church, and Trinity United Church. Thanks to all. Soon, individuals will also have a chance to provide support. In the next month or so, we plan to take the project to the next level by launching a crowdfunding campaign, and you can expect to hear more soon. There are others I also want to acknowledge tonight. People like former editors Nick Hurst and Margot Goodhand, who graciously put up with my constant badgering for more religion coverage. Brenda Suderman and Sharon Chisvin, fine writers who contribute copy on a regular basis. Faith Page editor Greg Lockhart, past Faith Page columnist Karen Toole, and Mary Lou Dreger, and many, many friends from various faith communities who've encouraged me and all of us along the way. Looking back in my 18 years of writing about faith for the Free Press, I have to say it's been a great experience. There were times when I stared at the computer screen and wondered at what on earth I had to say or who would want to read it. But fortunately, those times were few. More often, the problem was finding enough space for all the interesting people and things I wanted to write about. Through it all, my goal has been to celebrate and explore the world of faith, how it positively impacts life in Winnipeg, in Canada, and around the world. And along with telling the story of faith in the city, my goal was to put a human face on different faiths. It's harder to hate people or discriminate against them when you see a real person behind the story. Some of the stories I've written haven't been positive. Sometimes religion has had an adverse effect on people's lives. I've tried to be honest about that too. I know I don't always get everything right. I don't always understand the nuances of various beliefs. Thanks to those of you who have graciously corrected me and helped me learn more about your religions. What I've enjoyed most of all have been the wonderful people I have met from so many faith groups. It's been my privilege to attend your festivals, your services, and your ceremonies, and to share much, much good food with you. I'm honored to count many of you as my friends. And although we come from different faiths, we have so much in common, not the least of which is the belief that faith has an important role to play in society today. So thanks to the Free Press, and also to the generous support of the local faith community. Because of that role, the role of faith in the society, is on display almost every day in the pages of the newspaper. So thank you tonight for this award. I'm deeply honored, and I accept it with humility and much gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the moving words, and allow me once again to congratulate you on behalf of the MMC board on your very much deserved award and recognition. I also would like to thank Her Honor for having this award and promoting this very important event. I hope events like this inspire us to transform our lives, our neighborhoods, our communities with actions that promote the unity and the betterment of society. It's heartwarming to see so many joined here together tonight for this wonderful event. And I do hope that next year we can see you all in person back in the Government House. Once again, on behalf of the Manitoba Multi-Faith Council, I would like to thank you all for attending this event. God bless.